Thanks.
Okay. Phones are going to ring, obviously.
Great.
But just, 2 days
For
ago.
what? What happened?
Well, I think something happened.
Did I miss something?
These council people, they tell us what to do. They go out and drink a lot. Wait a minute. Ma'am, you don't even live in Watertown. Yeah, but I like this town. You live out in the town of Champion. Yeah, but my mom used to live here. All right. 2 days ago, you sat down and you explained to me something about the laws of the post-war years and why they were set up, something about the A, B, C districts and so forth.
Well,
I sat there nodding my head saying, yeah, I understand. Jeff, I didn't understand a word you were saying the other day. Can you explain to me how this all happened and why Channel 7 got it right and why people are up in arms about this? And are people misinterpreting things here?
Well, people are not only misinterpreting it, they've got it completely wrong.
Okay.
The UK press has got it completely wrong. That Drew Carey guy, what's he? Bob Barker.
Yeah, he's the new Bob. Every time he does a show, it looks like he's doing it for the first time.
Yeah.
You ever notice that?
No,
I don't know what I'm doing.
I don't get to watch it, but anyways, the city of Watertown and City Council did not pass a no roommate law. The city of Watertown, the City Council has no law on the books that says you can't have roommates in the city of Watertown. There's no law on the books that says you have to be blood relatives to live together. Those are all kind of, somebody starts something up and it's completely false. So I've heard, and I don't know if this is true, that there's a petition to repeal the no roommates law.
Right.
I'll be the first one to sign the petition.
Because there is no law.
There is no law to repeal.
Okay.
So what did happen and there was no laws passed. The city council removed a sentence from the city code,
which is an existing law from the 40s.
Which came in after World War II. That allowed an accessory use in a residential A neighborhood. Now, the city is zoned various zones throughout the city. You're from residential A, which is the most restrictive of single-family homes. We didn't define family either, because that's the other one, is saying that we defined what a family is. In fact, the city's definition of family on the books is very liberal. The definition of family on the books is you can have up to 4 blood-related people. So people that are not blood relatives, they're not even related to each other.
Right.
They can live together and call themselves a family.
Okay.
So restrictive zone, residential A to less restrictive of commercial, light industry, heavy industry.
Okay, give me an example. Residential A obviously is Thompson Boulevard area.
Thompson Boulevard.
What would be B?
Another residential A would be Harris Drive, Ives Street. Residential B would be a zone that allowed like 2-family homes, duplexes, or up to 4-family homes.
Academy Street, Boyd.
Or mine is a residential C, which allows multifamily units, funeral homes. So you start expanding that you can have more business in those areas.
Let me ask the question. And as far as B and C are concerned, is that not applicable to what we're talking about? Right? I mean, you can have as many non-related people as possible, or are there regulations there too?
No, I mean, there's regulations in B and C. You can't go and open a smelting factory.
No. In terms of who lives there.
All zones are regulated.
Right.
And so there are restrictions. So in a residential B zone.
Right.
You can't open or have a multi-family. You couldn't put one of these new housing units up that has 40 people in it.
Right.
It's restricted.
Right.
So by definition of residential B zone, it's restricted.
Right.
So what happened in a residential A zone is the language was removed that up to 4 transient roomers is no longer allowed. So what a roomer is somebody that rents a room. So if you, me, and Mayor Graham decided to go over to Danny Francis's house because he lives in a residential A zone.
That's Mount Rushmore right there.
And rent rooms.
Yeah.
We can no longer do that. So the business aspect of a residential A zone, of renting rooms, you can't do that anymore.
Okay.
That's all that is said. Now, what can you still be boyfriend and girlfriend in a residential A? Yes. Can you be fiance? Can you be straight? Can you be gay? Can you be boy, girl,
right.
girl, boy? Absolutely all allowed in a residential A.
Black, white, yellow,
green,
yeah.
Jew, Muslim, Catholic, all can live together
right.
in a residential A zone. So this is the problem, is people are out there saying, oh, the council did all this stuff and passed all these restrictive things. Never happened.
Right.
Never happened. So it's difficult to go out and say, well, we're going to defend or repeal something that's not on the books.
Right.
The one few question that I would get from people is, well, why didn't the local media, why didn't the Times, and why didn't the TV stations, why didn't they report that? So you want the local media to come out of a meeting and saying the city council did not pass something.
Right. But most people, I'm still a little confused because you mentioned 4 rumors.
Roommates.
Roommates. Unlike the album from Fleetwood Mac.
The definition of rumors is people that they don't have to be related, they don't have to be blood relatives, they don't have to be friends.
Okay.
They're renting a room. So essentially it's a business enterprise. Okay. What the council did is took a step to protect neighborhoods. Now people say, well, I bought a home, I should be able to do what I want with it. As a conservative person, I do agree with that, but we live in a community. You can't buy a home in a single-family neighborhood and then turn around and say, geez, I can't make my mortgage payment. I'm in over my head.
Right.
I'm going to throw a few used cars on my front yard
because
it's my property and I can do what I want.
Gotcha.
No, because you know what? The neighbors have an expectation, and other people that bought homes in those neighborhoods, an expectation of, we bought homes in these neighborhoods because these other uses were not allowed.
Right.
There weren't going to be multifamily homes. There weren't going to be funeral homes. There were not going to be, bars. There weren't going to be restaurants.
Any business.
There weren't going to be, medical practices.
Right.
So they didn't expect that. So they have a right to not expect that too. And another reason why zoning came into being in the city of Watertown and actually progressed more was, remember the mid-'80s. People came in. Zone was kind of loosey-goosey.
Right.
People came in and bought houses and cut them all
up. Exactly.
And actually dropped the value of many neighborhoods.
And they did a crappy job on a lot of old Victorian-style homes.
Yeah, so, the council did not pass any laws restricting roommates or restricting or defining family or saying that you had to be blood relatives to live together.
Right. Well, I'll get into the questions of how that got misinterpreted, first of all. But secondly, let me just clear up some things in terms of what happened there on Thompson Boulevard. We have Mrs. Cavaliero, who came up with, can we call it a complaint? Is that a complaint on her behalf going in front of the city council about her situation?
I wouldn't necessarily say it was a complaint. It was an issue brought forward of, is this an allowed use?
Right.
And under the existing zoning, it was an allowed use.
Okay.
When I spoke with Mrs. Cavallero, she never once to me, or any other council member that I know of, complained about her neighbors as being bad people, as being loud, as being rude, as being obnoxious. In fact, she thought that they were very nice people as it was related to me.
Right.
Her concern was, what happens when somebody starts renting rooms out to people that aren't as nice as their neighbors or are really using it as a business enterprise?
Right, sure.
So, I guess what she was trying to do is saying, can we be proactive of protecting single-family neighborhoods?
Right, sure.
So that all started last year, in December of last year. The process was
3 months ago.
Yeah, the concern was brought up to the city council. I actually referred it to the planning board of, can we eliminate this sentence? Because the planning board has to look at it. That's what the planning board makes recommendations on zoning in the city of Watertown. That's kind of their expertise. They make recommendations to the city council. The planning board is appointed by the mayor and the mayor solely. The planning board looked at it, was on their agenda, public was notified, and they voted 5-1 to approve removing that sentence from the code.
What exactly did the sentence say?
The sentence said up to 4 non-transient roomers.
Okay. Now, with respects to the people right next door to Mrs. Cavallero, there was the boyfriend and her girlfriend and two other
friends.
People and 2 friends.
They still met the definition of family.
Right. Because there's no more than 4, which includes the owners.
Yeah, and so they can contribute. They can pay for the electric bill.
Right.
They can pay for heat. They can pay the utility bill. They can pay for food.
Sure.
They can't rent rooms.
Right.
They can't be roomers.
Okay.
Some people will say,
what's the difference?
What's the difference? Well, one is more of a business enterprise.
Right.
So if people are saying, well, my friend's helping out, people can help out in many ways, but it's not a business enterprise. And then the next question is always, well, how are you going to regulate it? The city's going to send around the police and they're going to knock on doors.
Right.
No, we're not going to do that.
Right. Well, the police are not going to do that.
And the reality is it's going to regulate itself,
right.
and the almighty dollar is going to regulate it.
Sure.
And this is how. is because if somebody was in a residential neighborhood and they were renting rooms to people, prior, if the person didn't pay the rent for the room, they could show up in city court and they could have a case. Now they're going to have to be very careful, because if the person doesn't pay rent and they were renting rooms and nobody's going to know, and the person says, I'm not going to pay rent, they show up to city court and say, well, guess what? You're not supposed to rent to them, so you're not entitled to any money. So people are going to start thinking twice about if they rent to people.
Interesting. So it's a precaution, almost.
Well, at the same token, look, people say, well, I bought a home, and I have a right to do what I want, and I'm constitutionally protected. I get it. But when you live in a community, you live in the city of Watertown, you also have a right to expect, when I buy a home in a neighborhood, that the characteristic of that neighborhood is it's not a business enterprise.
It's not going to be compromised.
It's not commercial.
Right.
It's not an industrial.
Right.
And we've seen that creep up happen throughout the city on some of our main arteries that decades ago were all residential. Those changes have occurred.
Sure.
And they start affecting the side streets and that. And the idea of zoning is to try to protect the people that want to choose to live in the city and just have a single-family home, or those that want to live in a rental district where there's maybe
multiple
a few apartments
dwellings,
or many apartments.
Right.
I mean, just like outside of the city of Watertown, they have zoning. People can't go up on Cagwin Road and put up a 4-unit house, rental unit.
Right.
It's zoned that it's not allowed.
Sure.
Those people decided they wanted to live there and live in an area that did not allow rental units.
Okay.
And it's legal.
Right. So ordinance there's a reason, there's a place for it everywhere. Now let me ask a question. Getting back to Thompson Boulevard and the Ryan family, they could not add another whatever. They could not. What did I say? They could not add another person to their dwelling. Is that based on what you just said?
That are not related.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can have up to 4 non-blood relatives.
The 2 get married. They have a child. That's legal.
Yeah.
But
single family unit.
But if another dude that can't make his rent somewhere and is kicked out of his mother's house, he can't move in there.
They get married. They have a kid. They got a friend that needs help.
Yeah.
They bring their friend in. Perfectly legal.
Okay. I thought the number was 4, but
now you got 3 of them related.
Okay. Right. Okay. All right. So. All right, and then they bring in a grandmother. She's related. That's okay.
Yeah. If you want to own or rent property, the city has many zones for that. Just like if you want to own a business or start a business, we have zones. You can't go into neighborhoods that are all residential and open up an auto repair shop.
Right. Or a boarding house for that matter.
Or a boarding house. Yeah. And we have those restrictions because people choose. Just as much as people have a right to kind of do what they want, people also have a right to live in a neighborhood that they've bought into.
Right.
So, for example, your neighborhood.
Right.
You don't live in a neighborhood where across the street there's a used car lot or a garage or a gas station or a medical office or a bar or a financial services office.
Right.
And that's a neighborhood you chose to buy
into. That's 2 blocks away
and you expect it.
On State Street.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, obviously, we have callers waiting to speak to you. Real quick.
So people got it wrong.
Why do people have it wrong? And what happened the other night when everyone got in that room? Were they all satisfied with your explanation? Did you have this opportunity to tell them what you're telling me now?
Well, one thing I've learned about from my time in government, and I think you can ask others, is you're never going to make everybody satisfied.
Okay, so how did everyone walk out of there? Did you have this opportunity? Is this the first time you can sit down? You've been talking for over 10, 12 minutes now. This is probably the first time you can tell it in your same words you told me the other day.
Yeah. Well, I would say, yeah, we did that the other night, whether they understood it or not.
Right.
It was the first time that in a long, long time.
But people were there, not necessarily aggressive, but they showed up in large numbers, meaning...
Well, yeah, there was a large number of
people. There was a misinterpretation,
there.
because from what you're saying, Jeff, is that people really didn't get this...
Well, everybody stood up, that stood up and spoke out, and there's probably 10, 11 people.
Right.
There wasn't hordes of them.
Right.
Some of them didn't even live in the city,
right.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, that's open government. And they were saying the same things that you read in the international papers or Drew Carey of, how could you guys pass a no roommates are allowed?
Right.
How can you guys define what a family is?
Right, right.
None of that of which we did. Mm-hmm. We didn't do any of that.
Right, right.
So, open mic, as they get a chance to speak at the end of the meeting, we explained to them, hey, this was the process.
Right.
We didn't pass a law. We actually eliminated a sentence from the code in one zone area of the city.
Gotcha.
So.
Well, you know what? We're going to start the phone lines right now. Let's do it. Let's see who's on the phone right now. Hi, you're on the air. You have a question?